January 14th. Good evening, it's January 14th, 5:30, and we are in the Veterans Conference Room, Mandan City Hall. City Administrator Neubauer, could you please take the roll?
Commissioners Schoberg.
Here.
Feinshan.
Here.
Braun.
Here.
Rohr.
Here.
Mayor Freilich.
Here. Let's rise, remove your headgear, and Jason will lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jason. Commissioners, you have the agenda in front of you. Any changes? If not, I would look for a motion to approve.
I'll move that we approve the agenda for tonight's meeting, January 14th. Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Rohr, a second by Commissioner Braun. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioners Schoberg.
Yes.
Feinshan.
Yes.
Braun.
Yes.
Rohr.
Yes.
Mayor Freilich.
Yes. On to new business. Long-term financial planning. Mr. Neubauer, would you like to lead us off here in the ground rules?
Yeah, so a couple things, like we mentioned, the topics that can be discussed in a working session are limited to those that are on the agenda tonight. There can be no motions made by commissioners to move to approve this and second and vote, so we can't make motions. We have to go into a regular session to do that. But again, we are being recorded via Zoom. This will be made available to Dakota Media Access and then placed on our website later. So any questions?
Carrie Stephenson. I don't think she's in the call. That's the computer in here.
That's you.
Oh.
Okay, we have started the meeting.
So
So
should she be using the Teams link or the?
this is a Zoom link. So she's showing that she's in via Zoom. Carrie, can you hear us?
Jim, that's, I think it's showing you.
Yeah, when you're on a call on this computer, it's the Carrie.
Okay.
She said she'd join in the agenda link.
Participants, maybe she's in like a waiting room. Can't be at both events, her computer. It's the same.
I want to send her the meeting invitation link again.
Here, we're gonna take a pause while we get the technical issue worked out, so hang on.
Okay, we're back.
We're back. So again, ground rules are topics to be discussed have to be limited to those that are on the agenda. No motions can be made by commissioners. So this is kind of an information give and take session. We have to start out with Andrew on the planning side to kind of set the stage for here's what we project populations to be. Here's what developments we have in the hopper, and kind of that sets the stage for engineering on issues of water, wastewater, other type of infrastructure, which also then sets the stage for public works to talk about how we maintain all those things that we just built. The kind of the series and the flow of this will be, this week's session is again devoted to planning, engineering, public works. In 2 weeks, we will talk fire and police, because again, we've laid the groundwork with Andrew as here's where growth in the community is happening, infrastructure we think is going. And then the third session we will have covers everybody else: assessing, building inspection, municipal court, airport, finance, administration, business development, all those, the other ones. We will go into, I think, the fourth session and kind of talk about funding. And all of the things that you see presented to you, there is a cost to that.
And the
And-
fourth session's the infrastructure projects.
My bad, that's right. Fourth section will be infrastructure, what kind of roads we look at rehabbing, what kind of street maintenance plan we're looking at, or which streets do we need to go, whether it's chip seal or reconstruct, and what the general idea is there, and look for what absolutely has to be done versus. After that session, then we'll talk about money. And a lot of that will hinge also on what happens in the legislative session that is going on right now. There's a lot of talk about gaps and limiting the amount of your general fund growth and things like that, which could be affect us in many different ways. And we'll kind of wrap things up with here's a total package presentation. That's kind of the game plan for this. We may need to adjust if needed as we go, but again, that's kind of the general framework we're going to work in. So thank you for kind of taking up your Tuesday nights for the next 2.5 months, probably. But I think it's an important step that we need to take with, not that we have 3 new commissioners on board, but we do have 3 new commissions on board. I think it's important to kind of lay out, here's the groundwork that we've been working on for the past many years. So, any questions so far? Okay, with that, Andrew, it's all yours.
Cool. Jim's gonna run the slides for me. I've got about 20 and I was told I have 15 minutes, so I'll try my best to get through everything if I can. Overall, I was requested that I prepare some information as it relates to active and proposed growth here in Mandan. So I put together that exact. Could you do the full present mode? Please, thanks. So going into the first kind of slide in the presentation, the next one, where we're growing today is probably not a huge surprise to anybody. West Mandan, we have a mix of of course, in the Big Sky Valley, north of the new Mandan High School, new residential developments, and in southeast Mandan's Lakewood area, we have a mix of residential and commercial developments being proposed. Didn't include small sites and site plans and apartment buildings that are being built, but larger development tracts where they're coming in new streets and potentially new neighborhoods are what I'm focusing on this. If you'll keep moving, development has been entertained but not quite applied for or approved in these locations. You have the rest of the West Hills master plan. You have that kind of Rough Rider interchange area developing a little bit. The rest of Dr. Boulanger's Sunset North development, again, entertained, not approved, not applied for. Extension of Keitles. We've had previous approved development plans there that have dried up. So retained, not approved, and Plainview. We probably kind of see Lakewood essentially fully built out at this point with what's going on in shores of Lakewood, except for some small development there. And we are really seeing essentially zero interest in expanding Mandan to. On the next slide. Yes, our population, of course, when I was a kid, Mandan it was like 18,000 people. So it's 24,000 and some change today. That just kind of breaks out some 5-year increments. Usually the off years, so your 2010 and 2020 is a real census and your 5-year increment is an estimate. We don't provide a ton of data to the Census Bureau for them to make really good estimates about our population. So when you go into the Census Bureau, certain communities dictate building permits that are being taken out every single year. We haven't done that, so they don't know about our building permits between the last decennial census and now. So, it's not uncommon for an estimate to make it look like the growth is really tapering off. And you'd really probably want to look at 2030 to make a full estimate on what growth really looked like. Did call out around when I first started in 2020, we really did sort of have a shortage in platted lot. fifth edition was going through the city commission. And aside from titles, cobblestone loop filling up, the Crying Hill development didn't have a story of new subdivisions. West Hills was the first one in, and after that, we really did get a lot of inquiries from that. If you move on, Jim, for me, where we go from here, well, there's a couple different forecasts, but the key thing to note is that it's an 8,000 person range that we have to kind of plan to be able to accommodate. Metropolitan Transportation Plan was recently adopted, and a huge part of that is a travel demand model and socioeconomic. Don't take what I'm giving you tonight the full qualified economist's analysis to do like birth, immigration, natural. I was informed by that, but I'm not really able to access the huge amounts of data that they have. We'll get to a population of up to 40,000 people by 2050, or it'll be about 30 to 35,000 people by. And those are the different scenarios. So the whole metro. Which is more likely to be in one of these two, 1.3 or 1. To it. So that's kind of where this comes from. Question that I think we all have is where are all these people? We'll be moving here. Range of 2,900 to 6,000 households and those scenarios. I did kind of bold out the 2030 as that's kind of our full focus. I didn't put out the number of households by then on this slide. I did elsewhere, but you'll see different estimates that put us at 26,500 up to 28,000 people by 2030. Where we're currently at, I'd probably put us at the lower end. That'll change, you know. Moving on. There's a lot on this slide, but what you really need to take away is that our average household size is 2.4. Over the years, that's probably going to go down to 2 kids, more people are living alone. That data came from our census. To accommodate our projected based on household, we need units. 30 though, we would need approximately 775 to 800 dwelling unit. So that's kind of our short term. On here, like in terms of households, there's a lot of different types of households, and our average size is at 2.4. It doesn't really matter if we're building more houses or apartments. The average is kind of the average. Moving on, we're averaging about 3.6 dwelling units per acre. When you look at a Keitel, West Hills, all of our kind of newer developments. So you can kind of get a sense of how many new acres or square miles of town we're going to need. By doing that, 60 to 65% of Mandan's housing stock is detached, single unit residential. So that is typically, I mean, the most costly for a city to maintain is detached housing. And it makes up a majority of our housing and a majority of our community's land use. As I stated earlier, forecasting is kind of suggesting a modest growth in higher density types to accommodate smaller households. So in the future, population share will be smaller households or possibly previously. Not saying that we're going to turn into an apartment city. Moving on, This is just kind of a refresher on the population growth forecast that you just looked at. Just put it in there to get you there. In a low growth scenario, that 1.1%, 65% of our new housing stock for single unit detached. That puts us at about 500 acres of more land by 2050. In a high growth scenario, it's 1,000 acres, so we double that. 640 acres for your benefit is a section 1 mile by 1 mile. We're going to need additional land for more than just low density housing, though, of course. It's a little bit more difficult to project because it's less of a pattern. We see with residential developments, they move right onto the next, the 14th edition and the 15th edition. Commercial and industrial is a little bad. The big takeaway, I think, with this is areas close up really have no industrial land. The potential for industrial significant expansion is to the west or to the south. Land are we going to need to growth? How much of the plant growth? Subdivisions that are recently in about 344 vacant. It seems kind of hot. It takes quite a long time for a developer to react to lots for sale. We can accomplish a good amount of our growth with the lots that we have in town today. The low growth scenario calls for about 500 to 1,200 new detached homes. That's so the big take is that additional development phases or subdivisions will be required. We might need Shores at Lakewood Phase 3 or but eventually we will need some more. Continuing on. I mentioned we have the vacant lots in town. You can see sort of span a lot of different characteristics. We have, some that are selling on average for $400,000 in Lakewood. That like all in stock, right? So we have to have different price points. The ones that I think I'm the most particularly concerned about in terms of wishing that they would be developing a little bit faster would primarily be some of the ones on Crying Hill in the steeper part here that, municipally a decade ago. I have some concerns as well about some unbuildable lots that we have in the Macedonia Hills area for secondary. Presents some concerns, but just note that this development was paid for by itself. This development is paid for by itself, as is one of the ones down. So they're not all one we've been financing. This is where they're at. Our kind of best guess is that the Shores at Lakewood and Heart River Villas will fill up pretty quickly. It's been moving at a pretty fast clip, and these are the developments in Southeast Mandan. We are anticipating that the area north of the high school will pick up some. I think they have, which took time. Stop there, but this is where the vacant residential is right now. These developments are built out. We get about 2,000. We have Shores at Lakewood and the Lakewood area. We have 140 lots total left, and 80 of those we just approved. So the last phase is finished that one up. Sunrise View Estates has a couple more phases, a couple hundred, some more dwelling units. West Hills, more phase, yourself. But that's really where our current developments and developers that we already know about potential is. Did you have a question, Greg?
I was just wondering on Crying Hill there, that's pretty much encircled by the city. However, if somehow, some way, we could find a way to punch division from 8th Avenue through to Mandan Avenue, do you think that would help spur development in that hilltop area?
Yeah, it would certainly for development and be required as well. I think it would be sort of a chicken. If we were to really advance something, but the main takeaway is that there's a couple thousand dwelling units in our proposed master plans. It's a little bit more difficult to know really. And it's not with these, they have master plans that show exactly where all the different home lots will go, and just says this area is going to be 2 million per acre. Continuing on from there, in any growth scenario, like I said before, additional new development is going to be necessary. And I think we can influence it by policy and promoting infill. High school can accommodate 150 dwelling units on it. There's potential for some downtown redevelopment. We can maybe get the most out of the Meadowlands. If we got the most out of Crying Hill, that offsets some of that sprawl. But if all the developments panned out, we get that 2,080 new dwelling units. And that's about 70 we need to accommodate the growth that is in demand in a scenario by 2050. Potential growth by 2050. Moving on, building permits. This is kind of a crazy slide to look at. We definitely need to see an uptick in building permits to kind of move at a little bit of a faster clip. With the approved developments that we have, we'd be fully built out in about probably 5 or 6 years. If we're moving at our current trend. If we could get that to move up, I think that would make us all a little bit more comfortable. But at the same time, again, having inventory and diverse inventory is not necessarily a huge issue, because we do need to have development land of it. Types of households moving to Mandan. We wouldn't want it to be a situation where in a certain subdivision, for example. So I think the market kind of see in diversity as we grow. Multifamily permitted by the project and not by the number of units. So every get one multifamily project, 24-plex on call-in. Rockwood, for example, constitute one permit, and how this drags along. Just wanted to share that. Jim? This is to share could maybe forward and what cost thing our assessing department, but it seems generally about right. There are really premium homes that are selling cheap house anymore. And using previous numbers provided to us, adjusted for proposed housing units and inflation, if we built out the housing unit that we need to be about $77 million worth of construction. So that's quite a lot. Of all that. 2015, we were told it would cost about 190 million to get 2,000 dwelling units, and we could need up to 6,000, for example. Our population in age a little bit. Younger folks are moving here that senior services in the area. The senior center is like bursting at the seams. For friendly infrastructure. Hunger. Placemaking. Stuff like that. Moving on. terms of infrastructure and mobility, I'm not the expert on this, but just teasing what our plans have told us. We're going to see significant increase in traffic on a lot of the corridors in town as growth continues to occur. As they've modeled out based on existing infrastructure and what's planned for improvements, likely to be insufficient in a lot of areas, and we're probably not going to be able to proactively all of these concerns. But just know that there are going to be pressure points in this area for sure. And the next slide kind of shows more so granularly where a lot of that's expected to occur. So based on what they put together a transportation model based on the number of lanes and condition of roads and infrastructure. And we're expected to see some congestion in our Old Red Trail corridor in North Mandan, 1806 down here and up there, and probably throughout the course. Generally what that means is when you get into the level of service F, you're intervene with some transportation planning improvements. But to fix everything and build out our grid is $600 million. So can't afford to do that. This is not the fiscally constrained plan. This is the build everything and dream plan. But you can kind of see how these road links would address some of that congestion in the future. So I included that for your reference. This includes big projects like the Northwest Interchange and Mackenzie Bridge and the Northern Bridge, a lot of things that are probably pretty. I think I just assigned a couple like goals as I was looking through all of this. I think smart growth and equitable development are going to be key for future development alignment. Sustainable land use patterns, efficient infrastructure, these are all things that we're trying to drive growth to areas that currently have infrastructure available. But the areas that those kind of coalesce don't accommodate all the growth that we have. And then opportunities on the next slide are, I think there's a lot that we could do in terms of the projects that we've been recommended to do, policies, grant funding that can help with some of this. And smart growth is going to be huge. Infill development within our high school plan, and seriously steering the implementation of that probably be in our best interest. Promoting mixed use developments, reducing, like all traffic. It's money for us to maintain, and there's a different way that we could do things. Promoting connectivity, and equity are some opportunities that I think as the community grows, and I think this is really all I have in terms of an ask, which would be our comprehensive plan. I think you can see a lot of big issues that are outlined. So you can kind of imagine for us to do this in-house, so I did make a budget request a couple of years to fund a comprehensive, and they're all the different do identify opportunities, issues. Probably resident and business owner priorities really holistically. These two here. So. Information. So I know I just kind of threw a lot of information at you. I'm not exactly sure if this is what you're looking for, but this is where we are growing and where we could be growing. And it's,
When I first came here, look, I think the city was more elongated. Now it's getting more concentric, right? And whether it's concentric or elongated, it has a lot to do with our services, whether it be fire, water, so all that stuff. Are we looking for development to try to keep it more concentric so we can center most of that stuff? Because the more we stretch ourselves west and in another direction, then the more difficult it becomes for our community to put things in the spatial type of attachment.
yeah, Commissioner, I think we are looking to reduce the incidents that we're in prior to Lakewood and maybe do more to Heskett stuff where we're able to grow a little bit more south and build out a great comprehensive plan that we previously adopted in 2015 would support that. The challenges are, you know, we pick where developers buy land and what they bring in, and oftentimes their proposals are pretty enticing. So, and I think,
By a major road access, it's going to be a highway or a major thoroughfare or interstate.
yeah,
That's a big factor there.
I think a great example would be in the Sunset Valley, if 37th Street connected from the water tower down to 1806, and the fire station can be built there. So, building the system out a little bit more grid-like and south versus elongated will probably efficiencies.
Any other questions for Andrew? Thank you, Andrew. Up is the planning department, or engineering, excuse me, Jared.
Yes. Here, I'm just gonna load up my. Oh. Scanning and fixing, that's a great sign. This isn't, oh, and we are.
Share it.
Okay. So engineering wise, I think what everybody thinks of is going to be the hundreds and hundreds of infrastructure projects that we have coming up. But we're going to cover that in a future meeting. What I have prepared for tonight is more of a focus on the engineering department that works in this office, operations and maintenance needs internally here. And I actually don't have all that many requests related to operations and maintenance for engineering department. So I did want to take a moment to highlight some of the efficiencies and development that we're having internally to kind of offset some of the asks that are going to be made over the next 2 months, I'm sure. One thing for the 3 new commissioners I wanted to highlight was in 2023, there was a lot of 2023 and 2024, there's a lot of staffing difficulties. Justin Rosseth was here for 10 years and he left in August of 2023. Deanna Musadi was a project engineer. She left in March of 2023. We had 21 months of position vacancies and we were managing 36 active construction projects, which I have listed out here. During that time period, we had about $238,000 of unspent budgeted salaries and benefits. And more engineering and Houston Engineering, AE2S, we had a lot of help to cover some of the responsibility gaps during that time period. And we use those departmental savings to pay for those services. But we did have about $100,000 in unspent budget during those 2 years. And I did want to kind of highlight some of the things that we did with that budget. Go to the next item. A lot of what we did was reinvest into our department to develop it. One, we purchased survey equipment. We purchased a large format printer scanner. We upgraded our AutoCAD and GIS software licenses. We recently purchased traffic analysis cameras, and we recently began a document digitization effort. When we purchased Trimble Access and a TSC5 controller pictured up in the corner there, that purchase was about $7,000. This gets us to 300ths and horizontal accuracy and 600ths vertical accuracy. This allows us to do stuff like stake ADA compliant paths, stake water and sewer inverts and stuff like that. We can bring those services internally, and we can internally develop projects. And some of the beauty of being able to do that internally is you can be very reactive, and you can do it cheaply, and you can feel confident in how accurately we're doing it. In the summer of 2024, we did survey work. Source that. Purchased a slightly used large format printer scanner. One of the digitization efforts inquired about format scanning that and total $1,000 in the quote. Thirds of the quote. Dollars are paid that we can perform with our intern Carter at. I also did for my printers on our network, and that will identified security issues. GIS software and training. When I just anything to include 3D analysis. In that middle picture there, drainage patterns using also includes vehicle tracking. So it allows us to perform vehicle analysis to see where to be to make things related to parking and probably added than office combined. She internally. Analysis of our engineering was on how to use these traffic cameras. This is that more Tim and Riley out to analyze the to some concerns, some complaints that we got. another complaint related to that today. The difficult thing to rely on an engineering firm for that is that they're not going to react as quickly as you need them to react. It's going to be expensive, and you're going to have to have conversations around how it's going to be for much more selective analysis. Doing this internally is going to allow us to make things related to these complaints or the concerns, and we're going to have information, and we can feel confident recommendations that we make. That we already have. These cameras includes data. So speed and time data might be valuable to the police department to identify times where speeding is a concern on 40th or something along those lines. Get some traffic. A stop sign or temporary traffic in town for or something like that. So there's a lot of benefit to digitization. This isn't kind of the last effort that I wanted to highlight right now. During office, 50%. We're through an effort to digitize a lot of that. What that's doing for us, will do for us, is make kind of theoretically information time where there was instantial knowledge. You could find a specific paper document, or that there's in the gym paper document up there that has the information that you're looking. Knowledge was lost if it existed. Information at our fingertips. Full benefits. And we have an unknown inventory of about 4,000 lead service lines, and anything you can't possibly identify non-lead considered known. Bismarck was tons of service lines as unknown, maybe lead service lines based on documentation that they were. And the city implemented lead line bans, national ban. So that would be a big cost. String together consistent documentation related to that. Has an assistant planner. We have an assistant city administrator. We have also staffing needs related. And we're kind of running out of space in a humane way. So that would be a one net benefit. Last one is our applies engineering work. That does a lot of surveying, CAD draft. They project abilities, once again resulting in hopefully savings for the city and the city Mandan citizens. So that's what I related to operations and maintenance. The big piece would be in February. Something along those lines.
Infrastructure.
We'll talk about it. Questions, comments, concerns?
Question that the finance department has is when it comes to accessing land records information. Do you see, Jarek, down the road where GIS might be the primary vehicle that will kind of centralize all things lands record management as far as internal use and external use? When it links permit data, special assessments, that can be used for multi-department use and even for people from the outside,
Mhm.
where they can go in, be able to pull up a parcel, and then from there, you see links to all kinds of data points.
Absolutely.
I don't think that we have that comprehensively yet, but is that something that
Yeah,
you see the city going to one day?
we just. This would be solved by GI. Let's put this on, let's put this on. Authoritative.
And also make it parent and tools to kill some of these persistent innuendo based. Schoberg doesn't have to pay as much property tax, special assessments, even though I'm paying more than Schoberg. I live right next to him. I
Absolutely.
see this as being more of a black and white type approach.
Yeah, full transparency. And yeah, when you get people on Memorial Highway saying my special assessments are too high, giving them access to their neighbor's special assessments, might mitigate some of those concerns, or maybe you'll unify them. I don't know, but yeah, I think transparency is going to be, that'd be a good advantage. Yeah.
And it helps to modernize. Right now, we force residents to have to come here. Pay specials ahead, specials that aren't on their tax statements. By doing this, the goal is to allow them to pay off specials online by accessing data through this rather than force them to come to City Hall to do that.
So as we talk about efficiencies in the city, the finance department sees this as a big one. But we need the technology in order to do it.
Eric does that, the one, I can't remember which one, with that, that mapping, capabilities, include, topographic, intelligence, so that say if we carry 37th Street through from Old Red Trail to, 1806 North, and there's a sleet storm or whatever, I mean, obviously fire's that's gonna be a steep hill. But will we be able to better plan for safe traffic routing?
Yeah.
Utilizing that?
Absolutely. We have the topographical information that we have covers the entire ETA. We would be able to do planning level analysis just like that right now for basically anywhere of interest.
I mean, even that little stretch of division from 8th Avenue to Mandan Avenue, I think would be a tremendous asset to opening up more interior space for development. But to me, looking at that from Mandan Avenue West, that's going to be an engineering nightmare.
Yeah. And Riley's been doing a lot of work kind of honing in on where that percent grade, where that breaking point is for public works maintenance and for people being able to ride comfortably on the road and stuff like that. So we feel pretty confident that we're going to have good recommendations related to that type of decision making. Yep.
Like the one I'm also doing a lot of work with BCAs recently, which is cost analysis, looking at the time travel savings for making some of those connections. And it's very interesting to look at the cost of the project versus what the federal government would deem as benefits, whether it's a health benefit, a safety benefit, or just a time travel saving benefit.
Yeah.
I just want to commend you for embracing the technology piece to make your job, make things more efficient for the city, but also thinking about how pieces that you're using can help public works, and not only just the tool, but the staff of how different different pieces that you utilize can help other departments in the city. I love that mindset. So thank you for doing that. On a personnel note, do cities have internships typically in an engineering department, like summer interns that do this, can help with some of that scanning stuff and or is that typically do those interns go to large engineering companies?
In City of Williston, we had tons of interns every summer. City of Williston had a partnership with Gonzaga University somehow, some way, I have no idea why. But we would have like three engineering interns every single summer. And yeah, a lot of those engineering tech tasks are performed very well by engineering students that are in college and looking to get experience and references and stuff like that. Yeah.
And you had one this summer, correct?
We had one this summer, Carter. He's a mechanical engineering student. Whole different world. He'd never used AutoCAD before, never used GIS before. Smart guy though. So got him running, got him trained up on the survey equipment, and he's been doing great work for us. He plays football for UMary, so he took a little break there, but he's working PRN for us right now too, doing GIS stuff remotely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
As we embrace more of this technology, how does this change the concept of city hall?
That in that,
And I'll say another, as the population ages out from a landline and other things, and they're more proficient in using this, accessing it, how does that change what a city hall should look like?
right. Yeah, probably less reliant on physically being able to access each other, but yeah.
We've already experienced that in the finance department with our utility billing system. We don't have nearly the walk-in traffic. We're always gonna have a handful of people who are adamant about coming to City Hall to pay their utility bill. But our footprint of walk-in traffic is sparse for utility billing. We see a lot more of it when the tax statements go out and people want to pay off their special assessments. We need to find the piece that goes along where people can pay their specials online and make it more efficient for them.
They come in and pay with a check.
Or credit card.
Right.
Yeah.
Or cash.
Change.
Yeah, my vision would be from a finance department perspective is I think we're in a 10-year window where 10 years from now, we're gonna see. Have some of those legacy customers that still do, but 10 years from now.
I can move off target here, but I'm just thinking that as this evolves, the concept of what a building, what a city hall is going to be different.
And it's on us to develop ways that make them not have to come.
So those are some of the things that we in the finance department want to work on going forward.
That could have a big impact on where we look. City Hall is always wanting to be a place where citizens always come down, but it's done this more remotely than you can be pursuing.
Yeah.
Any questions, Jared? Thank you, Jared.
Thank you.
I'll try it here, try to speak up a little bit. Mayor, for all commissioners, I apologize, I don't have documentation PowerPoint up there, so read off your agenda docs here. But the reason I don't have one is my first request there, I'd like to get some more personnel help out of the treatment plant. We have stayed with our 6 employees at treatment plant since 2000, so we haven't had any employee changes, no new positions since then. We'd like to add a part-time position. And just a little background of this water treatment plant since 2000. In 2009, we added the 4 million gallon reservoir that we take care of, and a year later, we added the Southside Booster Station. In 2011, we had a
one of our bigger expansions out there for the residual management facility. And also in 2019, I got an office. We gotta take care of that now, and the meeting room out there. And our last intake project that we're just rounding up now brought us a chemical control room vault out there, which we need to take care of. And we also reinvented our pre-sedimentation basin out there, so it's another piece of equipment that we got to take care of, another building. And we moved our intake off-site down the river a little bit there, which takes us a little time to get there. And another building to maintain. So this guy would be very helpful to us, especially in the summertime. With water demand in the summer increasing quite a bit, we have a couple of shifts we run. So we really spread our operators out thin there. And this guy would really help in our residual management facility to help with the sludge load that is along with the water demand goes up at that time. You know, just example, if you take our truck out, it takes us an hour to get out the landfill and get back to the treatment plant. So that would be something, you know, free up our operators to do more important things than that. So I have that request in 2027. And moving on down a little bit, our 4 million gallon reservoir, which I said was put in 2009, is needed a new coating there. And that's roughly 17 years out, North Dakota weather there. So it definitely needs a upgrade. The coating is very important. There's a lot of cement and, you know, the rooftop there. We want to make sure keep that as good as we can so we don't end up with any repairs that we don't want. I got that in the 2026 budget. And moving on to 2028, we need to replace the sludge truck that we haul that sludge out to the landfill with it. You know, we've got in 2012. And, you know, when we replaced in 2008, it'll be 16 years old. I'm hoping to move that down to Shane there. Maybe you can use it part-time for some of the snow removal. It's a little bigger truck there. And if we do move it to Shane, that's up to Shane. But if we do move it down there, then we'd have a spare when we have troubles. Right now, we do borrow their, thankfully, Public Works always helps us out. We do borrow their truck, but it's a lot smaller than ours, so we end up having to move it back and forth quite a bit. It causes us a lot of extra work when we do have our truck down. So we have that in there, and our press costs. Our presses out there, we've been getting 10 years or so on those, so they're gonna be due to replace. That's a $20,000 item in 2028. And then 2029, we'd like to replace a pickup, our 2007 Chevy. It's been out there and was need of replacement. And the burger pumps again are up for the press unit, that 2011 expansion there. You know, we're talking they're almost 20 years old at that time. We'd like to put in a new pump, make sure we keep things working out there so we can keep the water supply going.
What's a press cloths?
Press cloths.
Cloths, what is that?
What we got is our sludge presses, and they're plate presses. And they're a little membrane, so what we do is we pass the sludge through, the water will go through, and the sludge will stay behind and get compacted and pressed to a nice dry. Then we'll open those plates up and put them on our sludge truck. So those cloths, get the lime and other sand on there, and they eventually wear out. You know, we have to clean them and take care of them. We were getting twice the life they thought we would get when they first put in. But, you know, they do wear out and they'll need replacing. Any questions?
Yes. The dump truck. Thumbs that.
Our operators do. Everybody on staff has a Class B license, so we take it in and out.
And the Chevy pickup, the 2007, is used for what?
We use that around the plant and then to go check our stations and those type of things. We're in charge of 6 stations in town. We drive back and forth to.
Any other questions for Dwayne?
You use that to pick up the haul too, or is that just to accommodate people?
We do use it to haul things when we take orders, into repairs, things like that. Nobody's box for that.
You just go around checking and you're not hauling things, you're on. Pick up for that.
Yeah, we always use the pickup because we use it for multiple things.
Maybe the question, Dwayne, would be, how many vehicles do you have out there that are running?
Yeah, we do have 3 right now. Could probably go back to 2, but which wouldn't be that big a deal. The Chevy right now is that we also use it for plowing our roads out there. So we have a plow attached to it that would have to remove it. Bring on to the other one. So in the winter time, it kind of gets designated for that. Dodge is the 2015, so it's starting to get there too. We could, figure some things out. Possibly cut down to 2 vehicles, but we would need another vehicle in that time frame.
So
We've got a list, I could pull that.
PD, you're probably 20, 30.
Probably 35, 36.
Fire, you
Right,
got-
is we're at 40, just under 40, I was looking at the insurance the other day. We're at, and fire, and I think public works is.
I would say around the 30+ range. Counts me.
I think our total rolling stock, if I'm not mistaken, including loaders and everything, is up 200. That's what you're. This past year.
yeah, I'm just,
throughout,
Yeah.
whether it's assessing, building inspection, admin.
Yeah.
Currently just scrubbing our insured vehicle list, so in the next week, we'll have a finalized number. Just wanted to make sure we didn't have any disposal vehicles that the insurance didn't get, was neglected to get canceled, so we're doing a thorough check this year.
so do we have an overall maintenance or, agent? The fleet. An overall approach. Policy that out. 18 years on the paper.
Would say my experience is generally we will drive them till they drop. Where it becomes. Is that fair?
Yeah. And we definitely looked at it, thinking of the program, do we drive to the dropper to be?
And, or, Shane, how much, with the city shop down there, how much maintenance do you guys perform for other departments for their fleet? Minimal? Or does your city shop just maintain your fleet down there?
No, we do work on the other city vehicles. I don't know exact percent. I think in our slower times, we try to catch up on some of the other stuff, but when they have instant issues, we try our best to get them up and running if we're able to. If not, we'll take them to a shop. I think what the mayor is asking is something I was gonna talk about a little bit in efficiencies. I started researching a little bit of retirement over replacement. There's a lifespan when you get to 10 years and 100,000 miles. Do you replace or do you spend 10 to 20,000 on repairing for the next 10 years? Is there a better asset at trading in at that point? Still haven't got to a perfect evaluation of that. I just kind of started looking into it though. Just more of a fleet management tool.
In a previous life, when I was at RDO Equipment, we did a lot of analysis on that, and 100,000 miles was the number that we used there. You had a significant drop off on trade value after 100,000 to where we target 100,000 as our end of life.
Bismarck PD, we dumped our patrol cars at $125, 125,000, but did not count the engine. Which was easily at least 100%.
Yeah, there's power meters on cars now. So from a financial. Is it a worse piece or? Saving money? We're dumping at 100,000,
Yeah, I mean,
and I don't know if I'd be running a snowplow. On a late model vehicle. Sometimes you keep that.
yeah, I'd have to refresh the analysis, but the analysis from that showed that we went backwards after 100,000 miles.
Doesn't have a lot to do with their gas and diesel too. You can get a lot more out of diesel.
Yes.
Diesels are,
Yeah.
diesels present their own issues with definitely. Diesel exhaust systems.
Part of it has to do with, I mean, do we have a purchasing contract? How, buying direct from the manufacturer was part of the 100,000 mile analysis as well. So we financially went backwards after 100,000. As a factory direct purchaser. So that's something we can look at.
Any other questions for Dwayne?
I would just interject with, based off of that too, I mean, 2 months ago, that was one thing you and I had talked about too. Is we had a vehicle totaled and we sold 2 and we made 5,000 or what was off of that. So I'm looking at that as we're really behind on that if we're running really this off. So I would like to look at those things.
Riley, I think was about to bring this up, but the NWT has a very specific policy to.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, one thing I was gonna point out is, we recently went through the process of acquiring a vehicle with the engineering department. And there wasn't guidance as to buy this type of vehicle, we always buy Ford trucks, or we go off the state bid, the state bid has a contract with. The alternate between Ram or whatever, cheaper at the time, and he kind of directed us as. Pick what vehicle you want, whether it's used or new, obviously we asked for a bunch of requests to buy new, because we thought we'd get more life out of it. But moving to a standard of, let's always buy the NDDOT state bid, low price vehicle. That's what the NDDOT does, and they retire their vehicles. They have a lot more process in terms of like tracking miles, and once it hits certain mileage per their value, they have a whole spreadsheet that breaks it down. Then it's immediately get rid of, here's a brand new vehicle off the state bid for you to drive, and you don't get to take what that is, it's by your use case. So whether it's like for the geotechnical engineering department, we had a Ford or SUV. Whereas our drill crew always got F-250, they always got the bigger half or 3/4 ton pickup. So it just kind of varies as to who the use case is. So you look at like the city perspective, what's assessing its use case? They're driving around the houses, they aren't really hauling or towing, so they probably buy what it says SUV for company reasons. Whereas engineering, we're in the field, we're on projects, we're probably using a truck or, so you look at things like that, would be an interesting topic to bring up further down the line, but just to kind of add my 2 cents.
Dwayne, who does the painting of the reservoir?
We would,
Who are the companies that you bid?
we would bid it out. There was a few coating companies that do that. I don't know any of the names off the top of my head.
Corey?
Yes, Oxitable does that work.
Dwayne, since you mentioned the coating on the reservoir, would it be wise to project treating or repainting any other strictly poured concrete buildings? Say your water treatment.
Yeah, we have that in our phase 3 project that we're gonna bid out this spring. We plan on painting the water treatment plant at that time.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dwayne. Wastewater treatment.
So I just have the spreadsheet here and out, but starting off with the clarifier controller improvements, that's kind of a card on here. So we've been talking about upgrading the plant, and the last time we talked, it was suggested that it would be online in 2029, and the clarifier wouldn't survive that long. So A2S came up with a plan to upgrade the clarifier for the time being, and do it in a way that we could reuse some of those parts in the, further improvements down the line. I have handouts of that. I don't know if you guys want some handouts on it that A2S made. I can. So that's, the scope they came up with was 215,000 to get the clarifier to where, like in the last 2 years, it's the power went out in the clarifier and it wasn't talking to the controller computer in the office. And for some reason it's dying out, and then the whole programming is wiped for that building. So they came up with a plan of how to improve that for the time being to make it last till 29. And to be honest, before tonight's meeting, I thought it was gonna happen in 25, so putting that off till 26 would be risky. But bringing it up now, I guess. All right, is there any other questions on that? I'll just go to the next thing then. So 26, a new snow plow is on there. And these, this spreadsheet's subject to change, and that snow plow could last till 27. It's just, this is the document of, kind of a game plan, but if I can push it further along, I will. 27, portable sampler. We have 2 right now. They're both 15 to 20 years old, and one just stopped working last week. I haven't looked into that more, but we have one on hand. One's still on hand working, but that probably needs to be bought in 27. Refrigerated sampler. That would be the sampler that takes the composite sample at the influent of the plant. BOD incubator, that would be in the lab when we do the biochemical oxygen demand lab work that's required by the state. It's got to sit in an incubator for 5 days. That's going to need to be replaced around 27 there. Lumacraft boats. Typically in the past, we always bought 2 boats at once, but I feel like we could probably just buy 1 boat. So that might not be, there might be some savings there to look at. But that 1 boat we do go in and out of the ponds it's pretty, I've flex sealed it to death, it gets holes in it a lot. So then I get into some stuff here that's highlighted in yellow. Yeah.
You think seal that in the pond or?
Yeah, there's water coming in the boat all the time. I can't stop it. Water. Yeah, it's just dirty river. So the stuff highlighted in yellow, that is, it's highlighted in yellow because if we do a plant upgrade in 2029, some of these items in yellow, probably we could avoid buying. So the Biolac sheaths, that's pulling out the air lines that are out at the plant that oxidize the aeration basin. There's 432 diffusers we got to pull out and change the plastic sheaths that are on those. So yeah, we wouldn't need to do that if we're going to upgrade the plant, and that'd be awesome to skip that project. It's horrible. North mixer, that would be, we have a concrete vault that mixes raw influent with the treated stuff. That's part of the process. There's 2 mixers in here. They're in there that are supposed to be sent in for an overhaul every 5 years. That's $5,000. With plant upgrades, that I don't think that's electric ink's going to be there. So, all right, moving into 28, Aladdin pressure washer. That's our pressure washer that's in the main shop, which is where we haul out the biosolids. So everything in there gets pretty corroded and exposed H2S. So that pressure washer is It's right there where we load the biosolids in the semi, so that'll definitely probably need to be replaced by 28. The floating dredge, that's what we, put in the facultative sludge basin to haul out or suck the biosolids out of the pond. That, I didn't, get a further, cost estimate on that. That was what was in there. But if we do the upgrades that we're planning, that would need to be replaced. Go to a different type of situation with the solids. 2029, a sludge pump, those are in the clarifier building, which, you know, that's set to be replaced. We have 3 old ones that are rebuilt right now, so we should be fine there if we do the upgrades. The Noon injector in 2030, that is the injector we use to put the biosolids into the farmland. That's a large expense that we be able to skip it. We change the way we're handling solids, and then it's the south mixer there. That is same as the one in 27. And just wouldn't have to do that if that's not there anymore. So, all I got for the 26-30 budget at this point. No new staff should be needed. As far as I can tell right now.
Any questions for Ryan?
Ryan, when we last met, it sounded to me like the clarifier control was a, if not a every other day issue, maybe half a day issue. Is this? I guess what I'm getting at is this needs to be taken care of in 2026. It can't go out any further.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking it was gonna happen in 25, but 26 has gotta be that's gotta be where we draw the line.
Okay.
Hopefully, you know, if we could do anything in 25 to make that building last would be ideal, but you know, I know we gotta do what we can, I guess.
Because basically it's gonna be a possible.
Yeah.
As far as dependability goes, this thing should be replaced.
Yeah, if that gets wiped out like that, sludge pumps still work, and that's what either pumps the treated water to the waste pond or back through the system. And if that goes down, somebody's gonna have to sit there all night long, all day long, and turn the pumps on. So, you know, until we get it back up and running, which, you know, in that handout, they estimate about a month if it has to be done in an emergency. Yeah, it's just getting really old otherwise too, but
Tomorrow would be too far away, right?
you know, it kind of feels that way, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any further questions? Thank you, Ryan. Public Works, Shane.
Evening, Commissioner, Mayor, Commissioners and Mayor. Public Works and our operations. The needs we've identified as and the purpose and benefits of our budget requests. And just some key ways and possibilities moving through the future here. One more, sorry, Jim. So right now, Public Works, for full-time employees, we have 2 ground, 7 full-time utility. And right now we have 168. To put that in perspective, it's usually about 4 passes for sweeping or snow. That puts us at about 672 miles of cleaning when we have a significant storm. Put that in perspective, that's almost driving to Montana at 2.2 miles an hour, moving up to 10 inches of snow at a time. So it kind of just gives it some relativity of how much it actually takes and what we do when we can clean a storm in 24 to 48 hours. Right now, we're just around 8,000 water meters, 38 utility guys are taken care of on a daily and monthly basis, 149 miles of water hydrants, 57 miles of storm sewer mains, 127 miles of sanitary maintained during growing season for our grounds maintenance crew doing mowing and keeping up on all that. And 26 miles of city-owned sidewalks and parking lots. I've not added a full-time employee since 2013, so that's one of our big asks moving forward in the next 5 years. Go to the next page, Jim, please. So to address these, this is the 25 already. What we've approved and just kind of gave you an overview of what we're purchasing this year. We're getting the front end loader, mounted snow blower, which we just talked about in the last commission meeting. We're loader with a snow plow to the fleet. And then we're adding, this is a lease that we're just updating. That's the large loader out there. We'll just be up 5-year lease. One utility maintenance personnel for 2020 to help with the ongoing project on Memorial Highway. Or sorry, the start of the project on Memorial Highway. That'll be of significance. One thing I forgot to mention, we had 1 month where we had almost 900 locates that my 7 employees took care of in 1 month over the of construction and the growth Mandan. It's pretty wild how much those guys are getting done every day, so.
Shane might touch on that a little bit because, or maybe I will, because I think some folks think that you call one call and they'll go locate everything, but we are the one call for water and sewer.
Yes.
Lines for locating those. It's not just like the person with one call going out. It's great. Maybe we are also out there doing that same thing. That's when Shane talks about, that's the big time consuming item.
Very time consuming. And then we're adding 1 utility pickup and a service box for our utility fleet.
Shane, were those additions or replacements?
Those would all be replacements. Yep. Oh, sorry, the snow plow, the loader snow plow is an addition. Yep.
For 2025, correct?
That's 2025. Yep. How to get to where before we go moving forward here. So our 5-year requests in our personnel, we're asking for, right now we have 3 people on the list. 2026, 1 equipment operator for the street department, 2027 equipment operator for ground, and 1 equipment operator for grounds maintenance. That's what we have on the 5-year for right now. Go to the next page, Jim. So I didn't list everyone, and we can go through them if you'd like. I really put the higher level costs for the next 5 years for equipment needs. So we have a single axle dump truck with sander and plow. I believe that's replacing a 90s model. And that is almost 20 years old as well. 2027 is another single axle dump truck with plow hitch, which is replacing our old model truck. And then another. And then a bucket truck and a streetlight utility for 2027. In 2028, one of the biggest ones on my list is definitely the steel wheel compactor. That's about $1 million. Mitch, if you could help me on that one, I believe that one will be coming up on 15 years old by 20. And where are using very high costs of repair. So that one will be one of our big ones coming up. Track skidder for the cemetery. Another street sweeper replacement in 12. Camera trailer to help televising. Right now we are limping our current camera trailer by, which this week we were added more needs and every day where we could help with structure and help Jared. The engineering, everything like that.
You're talking about this big item for 2028, but I don't see it on our list.
It's the last
Underline.
Sorry.
Oh, last page, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm looking right down.
I didn't want to, if I would take you through all 7 pages, I didn't know how long you guys wanted this. So the camera trailer 2020. Televised. Just to continue. Along 2029, adding another wheel loader with plow, that'll be a replacement loader and plow. In the general. Toss here so I could better, but then that's kind of scary too. And then 2030, little ways out there, but a tandem axle dump trailer. We're estimating that we'll already hit the $100,000 mark by the time we get there, and then a 1-ton service truck, crane and body. Those are the big 5-year requests, 100,000. We can go through vehicle, smaller things, mower replacement. Most of it is all replacement as we move and try to better our fleet and move forward.
Right, you just jump in
Yeah.
just to add, if I'm not mistaken, every rolling asset at Public Works is on a spreadsheet. So took 20 years, put some number on there to make sure that there is a spot for replacement at some point. And so everything on this list, state machine is all just replacing existing, make sure that we don't have the 50-year-olds. Not adding anything.
Yes.
So there's no, equipment purchase to handle Memorial Highway.
Not on this list.
Not specifically to this 5-year list, no. Yeah, no, please help me. I wasn't a huge part of this. I tried to lay it and jump in as fast as I could.
We have been purchasing a couple trucks and truck plows. If we're for more, then just added a third maintainer, 2020.
Right.
And then the snow blower, we added a third snow blower in 2025. There's some ramp up to that.
I wasn't lucky enough to bring Brian in today. He's in Florida tanning, so he had my street department on lockdown.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If I'm reading this, you want to add 9 personnel to your staff then by adding on to the street department and the grounds maintenance, that'll be 9 people you want to add?
No.
on?
Right now on the 5-year, I only have 3 employees.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at, for equipment operator 1, you have a, from 2026 up to 2000, you have a figure of each one would that be 1 person per year?
Yes, that's.
No, that's 1 person total. It just
Oh,
shows
that's
the
fine.
amount.
Right.
Yeah, it's just so, sorry.
Because a lot of these things represent the individual cash figures for the year, and I didn't know if that was.
No, that's just the accumulation of having the employee added 1 year. It'll always continue on every year
I
after.
just need to clarify.
Yep.
And you'll settle for 8 employees.
I would, yeah. No, we can change that real quick. So what has influenced these requests? As Andrew has stated, increased city size, equipment turnover, making sure we don't end up with 20-year-old equipment or constant repairing equipment outweighing the cost of buying a new one. Again, just want to note that again, 2013, is the last time we've hired a full-time employee in the Public Works Department until this year, 2025. I think in Andrew's growth from 2020 to 22 is almost 30% growth rate. But it was something in there. It was 6,000 to 7,000 people added just in those 20 years. The strip, the Memorial Highway project, that is going to be a big push by that completion date. I know this is a kind of a living 5-year plan. As we learn more what it's going to take to maintain and just build that project, it may, I know Jim, we've already spoke on a couple items, but maybe some other requests, but we'll talk about that in a further date. One more page. So Also, in the next 5 years, some of the things I'd like to bring to the department and the efficiencies, and it's kind of been talked about a lot in here, but I think a lot of it could be proper safety and proper training. Just bettering our day-to-day, every day, our employees in the field. I have a lot of utility department. I think my youngest employee is 8 months in. And then I have a couple of my guys that have been here forever. And at some point, we're gonna lose that forever knowledge. And so proper training and trying to build the proper, don't know the word that I was thinking of, but just the proper stuff so we don't lose the knowledge when we do lose, when these retirees do happen. And I know I have 2 to 3 that are in the next 5 years.
Shane, does that go into the GIS needs and engineering talks about that as too? Gee, if you lose someone who's been here for 30 years or 40 years and they knew where the shut off valve for this water main was, if that information is GIS and someone punches the button, there it is. It's not.
That's exactly what.
Raw.
That's exactly what, and it would be something where we can maybe possibly use AI ChatGPT to help us write policies per lift station. And then it could even be in a book when you get to the lift station. Obviously, we don't have hot setter. Could be in the truck, or it could be when they click on GIS. Here's the proper shutdown. Here's the proper formalities to each thing individually thing we have. You know, we have 38 lift stations that we're maintaining. Call a guy that's got 7 months, he's probably gonna have to call the other guy to find out exactly what he's doing. So just some better training. And then hopefully with the proper training and safety is the retention of employees. Street department has had quite a bit of turnover, and it's very expensive bringing in new hires very often. So, you know, when I grew up working for the city, it was always hard getting a job here. Trying to build back that retention and the base of employees for, you know, having pride in their work and want to stay here and want to better the city and make it where it's, when we apply or when we do have openings, it's not, we're just settling. I don't want to say it like that, but sometimes that's where we get to be in today's world. Asset management tools, we talked a lot about that with vehicle fleets. There's multiple different options I've been looking into. We're trying to figure out ones that could help when we're clearing the snow and we'd be able to update them on a timely manner. Still not exactly sure where we're at proficiently to how we can engage this system. I'd really like to start with something maybe in our city shop, our fleet management and our asset management, all of our equipment first, and slowly grow on that. But I think there's a lot that can really help us out in the asset management with that kind of knowledge too, that could be stored in this tool. And maybe it's something GIS we could do, hopefully, and we can plug it in with our Chronos would really be the best case scenario. Another one is just kind of off the cusp, but at a time where we have a possibility of possibly changing a water meter system, that would be possibly more efficient, more cost efficient. To open it to bid, it can turn actually into competitive bid. We've had the same company, I'm not sure but you kind of water meters, you're kind of, we're at a possibility with the grant that we received last fall. Look into some other options. Could better the future. Kind of a new amenity there that could help our infrastructure out too. As well as teaching some of my, I call them crafts, but get into some emergency situations or people are on vacation. But there's a lot of that happen in this main break. You know, my 7 guys are kind of the crew. I mean, there could be a possibility of them not being around. So just went in with training, some more cross training between departments too, that could just build one big public work. Other than that, we can go through them individually. That's kind of my big things for the next 5 years. If you guys have questions, I will try to answer them best I can.
Two things to point out, and when Shane talks about retention rate, I don't want to steal Amy Berger's thunder. But her analysis of 2024 was, I think we've got 18.73% turnover rate. Whether that's high or low, it's 20% of our staff are turnover on a year basis, meaning took that out, speak every 5 years, you've got a whole new group, which in my mind doesn't lend itself to providing a lot of those efficiencies and knowledge that we have. And also it takes 51 days from date of advertisement until we get someone in the seat. Which seems like a long time too. So if we have a vacancy, it's about 2 months before we've got someone filling that vacancy. Like I said, you and I have talked about how do we lower both of those numbers from basically 20% turn rate to 51 days from advertisement to hire. How do we work with those things? But also the questions on equipment. So right now, what you're seeing is very high level. The budget worksheets that we provide to departments to bring back in justification for a new pickup indicates Shane or Mitch or Jason fill out, here's a picture of what we have, here's what year it is, here's how many repairs and maintenance we've had on it and what's it valued at, and they have to make a pretty good case to get rid of, to dump what we have and buy new. So what you're seeing is pretty high level, but there's also the backup behind it that goes into a lot more detail on, gee, we spent $17,000 on repairs on a vehicle that's worth $12,000. Doesn't make sense. We don't do that, but there are instances where they get to a point where you're going, yeah, the last 2 years I've done more money into the vehicle. It's really time to shed it and buy new. So again, kind of those two things, and there's a lot more that goes into those things and getting like, here's what we're looking at. So if that helps.
I'd like to thank you guys. Work on all of you actually, but some new guy here. But as far as your street crews, for snow removal, I won't speak to my neighborhood, but how you do let it up to each operator. Whatever you're doing is working tremendously well. Little things, like you say, for a 2-lane residential street like our street in Diane's addition, there's at least 4 passes on that one. But what you guys and gal, last one was a gal up there. Instead of pushing everything to an intersection, they're going like 2 houses. Smaller loads, faster. That's just little stuff like that that people, like what you implemented the roll-offs, right? Use the grass spins and this. So that's huge. That's huge.
And under the forestry, you have a tool account?
Yes.
What was that used?
So forestry department, we're kind of starting to blend everything together and it's underground maintenance. They're separate. It was originally requested through forestry, but to be honest, grounds maintenance utilizing it for anything. One day we used for digging things up. Next day we used for vacant lot, whatever you want to say, we're using it for that. It can be used for forestry, cleaning up trees, stump grinding, stuff like that. The request says forestry, but it's really for grounds maintenance. It was originally purchased through the forestry department, I believe in 2019. So something we're kind of doing internally with that, with since the 3 departments they all utilize it, is it maybe just gonna become a grounds maintenance request? That kind of.
So are you getting rid of the one in 2019? Buying another one? And do you have all the attachments that you described?
Kind of once again, a work in progress on that, back to the one that we're talking about, we're kind of in a catch-22 with, it has a lot of hours on it. I would like to say keep it, with the strip that's coming in, we could utilize the third machine, but we are putting such a high amount of hours on it, I don't know by the 2027, are we gonna hit where this machine trade-in is only XYZ, and we are putting, this much money into it a year. I wish I had a better answer than that, but it is definitely. I mean, I think we're using them a little harder than what they're originally designed for, if we're getting money's worth out of them, if that kind of makes sense. Like I said, I don't have a clear answer on replacement or.
So on the, thank you, on the strip, we're gonna be responsible for the sidewalk.
On the south side, yes, the walking.
And you're gonna use the tool cap,
Personal.
and a brush.
Yep.
Yeah.
Adding about 2 to 2.5 miles sidewalk, potentially, double that, 5 miles, full clearing. I think what Jason was trying to say, if we get to that point, we'll see hours on a machine at 2027. They might not give us anything for it as well. So if we're able to, and it's worth it, may potentially have to try to keep it as a backup or another, or just do a full replacement.
What wears out the hydraulic pump, the engine, what?
All your hoses, anything that's moving, you've got that front moving constantly. And we have overused them a little bit where.
We're replacing, you guys are replacing the front lift arms, the
Yeah,
suspension. Shafts on.
You guys notice, you'll see them going around town pretty much all the time.
Right now, are you finding they're pretty consistent with skid steer, the 10,000 hours, and they're pretty more like a skid steer is, or is it more than that?
I think it's more than that. I mean, we're doing a lot of different tasks with them. The one thing that is very hard on them is mowing the baking lots, that whole process is very, very hard on them. Yes, we can look at it as we get some money back, if that gets special assessed, but adding whatever we're repairing. So.
They're an excellent machine, but if we're being honest with you, it's not a lot of them. They save us a lot. Because they're low speed ATM.
Yeah.
We should have a Forester.
That was my.
So
We haven't had them
have
for a
an
few years, have
employee, we have an employee in the forestry department. With how certification process goes, if you hire a person with, say, like a horticultural degree or forestry degree, they have to work in the field for 1 year and they can become ISA certified. Otherwise, and that gets us to an arborist, not a forester. There's different levels of rabbit hole here. That makes you eligible to take the testing to become an arborist. Otherwise, if we just hire an employee, or myself as an example, you have to have 3 years of service before you're eligible and approval to take the arborist certification. I'm working on it as a supervisor. It's not an easy task. I mean, it's a test type of thing. That's kind of one of the problems with our turnover. If you lose someone with that certification, it's hard to just acquire it. So it's either you have to wait a 3-year window, or hope that you find someone with a degree or already certified. So working on it, we do not have one now. We do have the steps in place for that person or myself to get it. Like I said, kind of like a work in progress there.
What's the advantage of having a city force?
I think it adds. It helps with the goals of what you're trying to do with the urban canopy and all that there. It adds adds a little bit more legitimacy than just a random person showing up to assess your tree. I mean, you have something that states you have knowledge with it. You don't have to have one. I mean, there is other avenues that you can, go through. You're lucky enough that the Forest Service works with us, Ag Extension here, Morgan County. I mean, they have people in that, but you're also kind of subject to what their schedule is, so to speak, on getting something through, as far as tree health assessment stuff.
I think our last official forester would have been Barry Kimberly. And when Barry left, we advertised several times. There's not very many folks out there that meet the certifications, qualifications. It's not just something you say, well, here's your title, you're a city forester now. You have to be credentialed and certified, and that's Jake's working on. You're a forestry, or you're an arborist, and that's what Jason's working on now, is to get his arborist. And that lends, I think, some more oomph behind when you're out visiting with the public about a diseased tree or not. Or if you're potentially applying for grants through the North Dakota and through NDSU or the US Forest Service, then which we apply every year, and we're very successful in getting it, but it adds that, do you have a forester or an arborist on staff? Yes, we do. Okay, check the box. You're now eligible into rolling grants. But so we've had to do some different things in grounds maintenance. Because we haven't been able to find a forester, and we finally said, all right, we're done advertising for a forester. We need to get some people in place to do this. And so that's why we it's downgraded that position, but we've readjusted, retooled that position to create a system that we have right now.
And when we lost our previous arborist, it was roughly a year, 13 months before. Same thing what James explaining, it's you're not finding people lined up with those qualifications, therefore we made it a operator position, boots on the ground, so that they can work their way onto it. So.
Mr. Mayor, Andrews? Yeah. To reinforce the initiatives, as we just heard, is not one of the planning and zoning or planning's goals to bring the city of Mandan back in line with legitimacy of calling still the Tree Cities.
I think we are a legit Tree City USA in terms of like good standing. We are still one. The planning department, the project will, the zoning study does recommend, or it's recommended that we do require more trees within the community. So yeah, I think the restoration, really long term, and it was the city full of trees, on the highway, all gone. And what happened and what does that mean? It's something that it's probably beyond us, but environmental and health and safety benefits that come from communities that have trees. In my mind is I don't know if our forest and urban forest management policies are really going to allow us to trees. And hopefully see more of it.
To be considered a Tree City USA, I think there's a certain amount of budget you have to devote to tree care, which we have continually done, and I think we have our 50th anniversary of being Tree City USA in 2027. 26. So we'll plan for a big what-to-do when that comes.
Yeah, me and Jason have been different venues where we can add more trees to the city. Help the urban canopy as much as we can.
So your initiative would be well placed.
Yes, and I do want to touch on engineering, that GIS system, our personnel that they added in the system that they're doing, that has helped us a lot. We have 10 years, give or take, of paper statements, however you want to look at it with what has been planted through like our boulevard program. You know, so you have that we're working on adding, we have about 10 years worth of Dutch elm disease that's been, you know, how many are we looking at, where is your hotspot in town, so to speak. All that information then helps with the grants what you was talking about. We're working towards that. We are kind of lacking in that regard compared to other cities with, we don't have a tree inventory. I'm sure someone's gonna ask me an ash board. I can't tell you how many ash trees we have. It's something that we're working towards, so that when the public calls and says, what are we staring at with this issue? I have no idea how many we have, but it is something through GIS that we're trying to, here's what it could do. We might possibly have a project that we have to contract out for staffing reasons, but we are taking steps in the right direction for the forestry department. It's not happening overnight, but we are getting there, so to speak.
Any other questions? Aaron, you have the agenda.
Did you want to get everything covered? Grounds maintenance, solid waste, streetlight utility, metering, we're good?
Yep. But yeah, I got all the big tickets. Like I said, we can go through them individually if we want. Put that there. I know you guys kind of reviewed them and asked questions on specific ones.
You have the big ticket items here.
Yep, everything's in here.
There's all the items, but
Yep.
there's PowerPoint, yeah.
Yeah.
I had everything 100,000 and over for the next 5 years on PowerPoint. Per year.
And then the handout is everything 5,000.
He's buying a lot of things that are 99,000. You know how that works.
When you guys projected out, were you taking today's price on this equipment, or are you adding the?
Inflationary guesstimations and such.
Estimate.
Mostly.
How are we on that, Greg?
For what?
Well, if we're looking at our 26 budget, we're doing the 5-year look. We're gonna buy a piece of equipment at 30. We have the price today of it. What dollar amount are we assigning to that?
Each department provides their own dollar amount. But they,
I'm saying in 25, it's worth 100,000.
Right.
When I go to buy it in 30, what's it worth? Are we accounting for that?
Are we adding the inflation figure to the cost?
finance department isn't, each department is to provide that.
Okay, so is
That's
everybody doing
estimate.
it?
Well, like one example would be on like grounds maintenance trailer, 2026 is 10 grand and 2029 is 10 grand, so. That would be.
You gotta add escalators.
Now, when we talk about positions, we are paying 3% salary increase as an escalator and a 10% increase in health insurance. That is what we're doing in the finance department. But when it comes to equipment, each department is to put in the most accurate number that reflects that year.
Okay, so. To Ryan's point, Commissioner Heinchan, you got a $10,000 trailer today. So 13.5 and 30, 15.
That's something we just have to go back and look at the trends.
Okay,
But we could put a calculation together and realign those correctly.
and everybody
Escalator.
reassess their numbers.
Yeah, I know, Jared, for example, with optics.
Optics.
Yeah, optics, it'll add, we'll throw a figure in like 4%, it'll add.
We enter everything in today's dollars, and then depending on what year you place it in, it'll adjust for the
And how much did you say it adjusts?
4%.
4% annual, 4% annually.
Well, I think that's a question, what do we? For consistency, what should?
You do crystal ball for them.
For equipment, especially for back my equipment back, it was pretty consistently 4 to 5%. I mean, year over year. There were some that were big jumps, but when it would be the base increase from John Deere, it was typically 4 to 5. New models came out, that was more, but standard inflation was in that range.
Now, when it comes to the CIPs, the infrastructure projects, the engineering firms are putting in an inflator.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yeah, we're talking about everything in today's dollars.
Yep.
And then it gets automatically adjusted.
Correct.
But you-
Right.
We can put together a.
What are those adjustments, Derek?
That,
What are those adjustments percentage wise year after year for the engineering companies as we look at our projects?
What's their increased value? I think is what he's asking.
Yeah,
What's their
3% or 13%?
what do you mean?
I said
What-
today's
what
dollars
percentage?
and the escalator,
Four
what is again?
percent is what we have. Is what we're using in optics. This is something that we can adjust in our program settings. We have it set at 4% right
We have it as a city set up for.
well, I guess as an engineering department in consultation with our. The E2S and.
And that, and more in A2S, that's what they're using, is 4%. And you say equipment is 4 to 5%? We're using what on labor and? health
3% for salary increases, 10% increase in health insurance.
10% every year.
Yes, for health insurance, yes. Worst case scenario.
It would be the worst case. God. Soon we're gonna be paying more in health insurance to do salaries.
Okay. Are we, the end here? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, time for one question. Are we self-insured for our stuff?
Are we what?
Self-insured for like our squad cars and loaders and.
We are
insurance?
sure, the dirt, North Dakota Insurance.
Reserve fund, tornado fund.
Okay, no other business, future meetings, Tuesday, January 21st at 5 p.m. That's the regular city commission meeting. Tuesday, January 28th at 5:30. Special meeting working session. Tuesday, February 4th at 5:30, regular commission meeting. Tuesday, February 11th, 5:30, special meeting working session. And with that, we are adjourned.
Thank you all, much appreciated.